Hi, I'm Rashonda Cade. This is Reading with Rashonda. We are reading House Behind the Cedars by Charles Chesnutt. We are on chapter 6. It's titled The Queen of Love and Beauty, and it's a short little chapter, so despite my digressions, I imagine we will get all the way through this. Shortly after luncheon, Rena had a visitor in the person of Mrs. Newberry, a vivacious young widow of the town who proffered her services to instruct Rena in the etiquette of the annual ball. "Now, my dear," said Mrs. Newberry, "the first thing to do is to get your coronation robe ready. It simply means a gown with a long train. You have a lovely white waist." You have a waist, like a shirt. I was like, how does she know what color her waist is? But she's just talking about the article of clothing. Sorry. "You have a lovely white waist. Get right into my buggy and we'll go downtown to get the cloth. Take it over to Mrs. Marshall's and have her run you up a skirt this afternoon." Rena placed herself unreservedly in the hands of Mrs. Newberry, who introduced her to the best dressmaker of the town, a woman of much experience in such affairs, who improvised during the afternoon a gown suited to the occasion. Mrs. Marshall had made more than a dozen ball dresses during the preceding month. Being a wise woman and understanding her business thoroughly, she had made each one of them so that with a few additional touches, it might serve for the Queen of Love and Beauty. This was her first direct order for the specific garment. Tryon escorted Rena to the ball, which was held in the principal public hall of the town and attended by all the best people. The champion still wore the costume of the morning, in place of evening dress, save that long stockings and dancing pumps had taken the place of riding boots. Rena went through the ordeal very creditably. Her shyness was palpable, but it was saved from awkwardness by her native grace and good sense. She made up in modesty what she lacked in aplomb. Her months in school had not eradicated a certain self-consciousness born of her secret. The brain cells never lose the impressions of youth, and Rena's Patesville life was not far enough removed to have lost its distinctness of outline. Of the two, the present was more of a dream. The past was the more vivid reality. At school, she had, excuse me. At school, she had learned something from books and not a little from observation. She had been able to compare herself with other girls and to see wherein she excelled or fell short of them. With a sincere desire for improvement and a wish to please her brother and do him credit, she had sought to make the most of her opportunities. Building upon a foundation of innate taste and intelligence, she had acquired much of the self-possession which comes from a knowledge of correct standards of deportment. She had moreover learned without difficulty, for it suited her disposition, to keep silence when she could not speak to advantage. I wish more people did that. A certain necessary reticence about the past added strength to a natural reserve. Thus equipped, she held her own very well in the somewhat trying ordeal of the ball, at which the fiction of queenship and the attendant ceremonies, which were pretty and graceful, made her the most conspicuous figure. Few of those who watched her move with easy grace through the measures of the dance could have guessed how nearly her heart was in her mouth during much of the time. So she did well. She played her part well. I am very struck by this sentence. Thus equipped, she held her own very well in the somewhat trying ordeal of the ball, at which the fiction of queenship, fiction of whiteness, or maybe for her it's a fiction of blackness. It's clearly fiction of social class. It's fiction of a lot of things. Anyway, she played her fictional role well, whatever the fiction was she was playing. "You're doing splendidly, my dear," said Mrs. Newberry, who had constituted herself Rena's chaperone. "I trust your gracious majesty is pleased with the homage of your devoted subjects," said Tryon, who spent much of his time by her side and kept up the character of knight in his speech and manner. "Very much," replied the Queen of Love and Beauty with a somewhat tired smile. It was pleasant, but she would be glad, she thought, when it was all over. I feel her on that. I don't know if she's an introvert. I am. This would be killing me. Oh. "Keep up your courage," whispered her brother. "You are not only queen, but the belle of the ball. I am proud of you. A dozen women here would give a year off the latter end of life to be in your shoes tonight. Whoa! A dozen women here would give a year off the latter end of life. I would die 1 year early if only I could be the queen of love and beauty. Okay, so this is a man saying what he thinks women would be thinking, so he may not be right, but if he is, oh my gosh, the lack of prospects for women is palpable in that sentence. Okay, somebody's not really going to say I would give the last year of my life, but if somebody would even think I would give a year of my life so I could be in her shoes right now, so I could have the prospects that she has, so my life could be something more than it is. Oh, that's terrifying and fascinating, which is why I enjoy reading all of these things. Like, that's not my life, but I can easily see how it could be your life. And then I think, and what are where do we see that today? And I think there are actually lots of places where you would see that today, people who don't have any prospects. And I would give anything if I could be in your shoes right now, that I could meet somebody who could help me so I don't have to stay where I am. It's sad. All right. Rena felt immensely relieved when the hour arrived at which she could take her departure, which was to be the signal for the breaking up of the ball. She was driven home in Tryon's carriage, her brother accompanying them. The night was warm, and the drive homeward under the starlight in the open carriage had a soothing effect upon Rena's excited nerves. The calm restfulness of the night, the cool blue depths of the unclouded sky, the solemn croaking of the frogs in a distant swamp were much more in harmony with her nature than the crowded brilliancy of the ballroom. Okay, so we've heard a few times about what her natural disposition is. We need to keep all of this in mind. It's going to come back. I don't remember how or where or when, but we know that it will. So let's keep these things in mind. She closed her eyes and, leaning back in the carriage, thought of her mother, who she wished might have seen her daughter this night. A momentary pang of homesickness pierced her tender heart, and she furtively wiped away the tears that came into her eyes. "Good night, fair queen," exclaimed Tryon, breaking into her reverie as the carriage rolled up to the doorstep, "and let your loyal subject kiss your hand in token of his fealty." Oh. "May your majesty never abdicate her throne, and may she ever count me her humble servant and devoted knight." Okay, so he's playing a knight, but this is some very serious beau talk happening right here. "And now, sister," said Warwick when Tryon had been driven away, now that the masquerade has really just begun. She really just stepped into her public masquerade that is her new life. "Now that the masquerade is over, let us to sleep, and tomorrow take up the serious business of life. Your day has been a glorious success." Okay, I'm tired of Warwick. "Your day has been a success. All of the other women want to be in your shoes. You've played your role so well. Look at you playing the white woman super well." But what does it mean to be a white woman at the time? It means more than it means to be a black woman. I'm not going to say that it didn't, but a gilded cage is a cage nevertheless. He put his arm around her and gave her a kiss and a brotherly hug. "It is a dream," she murmured sleepily, "only a dream. I am Cinderella before the clock has struck. Good night, dear John. Good night, Rowena." And that was that chapter. It didn't take us any time. So that was chapter 6 of Charles Chesnutt's The House Behind the Cedars. I'm Rashonda Cade, and this is Reading with Rashonda.